Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. So I got a short lesson, man, for the people, man. With the we're gonna touch a couple of things: the effects of sin, the fitnah, of the effects of sin, the effects of fitnah, and the effect of poor leadership. Right. So this is going along with our sins category. So check this out. And Bismillah Ta'ala, I could be brief. So there was a battle between Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and his companions against the enemies of Islam. The Muslims was winning the war, and the Rasul had some particular people on a post, right? Told them don't leave the post. Well, when it started looking like the battle was over and they thought the enemies was retreating, the Muslims left their post because they wanted to collect what they referred to as war booty. They got caught up in a material thing. There was horses, the saddles, the harnesses, different things that they could take off the horses, swords, shields, anything of value that the people who they killed had on them, or some of the soldiers who was just wounded and wasn't necessarily dead, just whatever that they could take from them of what they felt had some value, some material things. So they left their post. So the enemy just basically circled and doubled back on them, and they ended up defeating the Muslims. Right? So this was good leadership, but the people disobeyed the leadership. And being that it was Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and he had the blueprint through Allah Azza wa Jal, Allah Azza wa Jal made it clear when you start to study the deen and you look at these surahs and these hadiths that he allowed them to lose that battle because they disobeyed Allah and his messenger. Right? So just that little bit of sin, that little bit of disobedience caused them to lose a major war. And a lot of times in the beginning, in these early battles, they was generally outnumbered. So in the Quran, and when you read certain hadiths and tafsirs, Allah makes it clear that he sent angels that helped them win the war. So now listen to this. I want y'all to pay real close attention to this. Right now, I say us in America, because certain people overseas might have a different point of view. But one area in this earth, one land, is extremely clear that this was the land of Kufr. Right? Because Allah Azza wa Jal speaks about it in the Quran. It was the land of Kufr. Like this was a land of Shirk, which is what we know in America, or English speaking people, we call it Egypt. Right? But the real name for it is Misr. Right? Even when you start to learn the Arabic language and you start to talk to the people who we call Egyptians, they'll let you know they Misrian. We from Misr. Okay? Just like the same with Morocco, which is funny, man, because the Moors, when you learn this, man, the Moors ain't even got a foot to stand on with that. Morocco is really called Maghrib. So the people that's from Morocco refer to themselves as Maghribi. So to call themselves, for them to come up with a name for themselves as we Moorish people is batil. Okay? Just for the people who call themselves Moors, as in Moorish Americans, all right? Because they don't even refer to themselves as Moorish or Moroccan. They call themselves Maghribi. But anyway, so let's get to Misr, right? what we refer to as Egypt. Even to this day, there's still symbolisms of all the idol worship and shirk, and how Pharaoh was the ones that created social classes, a higher class, a middle class, and then see the lower class is really what's referred to in like political science and different things as the working class. Although everybody worked, but the lower class is going to do the brunt of the work that no one else wants to do. You know, be the garbage mans, the janitors, the people in the nursing homes who have to bathe and wipe, you know, the bodies of individuals, you know, those things, you know, usually bathing and cleaning the rich, or like before, you know, be maids, and, you know, clean people homes and do their laundry. The working class, right? The ones who gonna have those low-level jobs, you know, flip the burgers. But anyway, not low-level job to me, but I'm just describing classes. So in Misr, Pharaoh was the first person that created social classes, right? A middle class and a higher class. Pyramid scheme where the money goes up instead of, you know, it's a pyramid scheme. So anyway, and that's funny because they built pyramids. So when you look at the pyramids and you can see what was on the walls, this was a land of Shirk. Now what a lot of people don't know, because they started through English and, you know, British speaking people and colonialism. Misr, let me say this part first. When you speak to people and you use the word Sudan, generally people think about black Africa. But when you say Egypt, it's a lot of people that don't even realize that Egypt is in Africa. Like, they not really conscious of it. They know Egypt is in Africa, but they not really conscious of it. So even when you sit back and people who like to look at those old Bible stories, they don't realize this is taking place in Africa. But, or even when you read your Quran, they don't realize this taking place in Africa. But when you hear the name Sudan, you think of black Africa. But when you hear Egypt, you don't think of black Africa. I'm mentioning that because Egypt and Sudan were all consisted of the land of what you call Misr. It was all one land before colonialism and people come in and breaking it up, dividing it. So my point is, and also, there's more pyramids in Sudan than there is in Egypt. So even when the wars broke down and they started to split it between the top and the bottom, the east to west, north, south, however you want to call it, when they split it and then they both got their own individual independence through colonialism. So now Sudan and Egypt on paper is two separate lands. But at one point, what I'm talking about, it was Misr. All of this contained Misr. This was the land of Shirk, right? There's symbolisms of Shirk through their pyramids, through the stories in Quran al-Karim where Pharaoh was there. And when you look in the Quran al-Karim and you go through the Arabic and different things, it do refer to it as Misr, okay? And I want people to understand that, because that means Sudan and Egypt, that whole area, not just Egypt. But like Egypt alone, I think some of the population of Egypt alone is like close to like 100 million people. Like they have several cities in Egypt that got 10 million people in them. Okay, so Egypt is large. Imagine what it was like with the Sudan. So anyway, to my point, Egypt and Sudan right now, it's the Muslim lands, right? The Muslims go there to study, to Sudan and Egypt. There's a little bit of Christianity there. There's a little bit of different tribalism type stuff. People who believe in different things, like But anyway, other mushrik type things, right? But Sudan, about 95% Muslim. Egypt, about 97% Muslim. But why is they the lands of Tawheed? When it's known, even through the people who read the books that was sent before they was changed, right? Imam Shafi and them moved to Misr, right? This is like Misr, Egypt, and Sudan. It's a land of scholarship. It's like a Muslim melting pot. Like when because a lot of people don't even really realize that it's Africa. So a lot of people like that's some of the first Muslims. When they leave here and want to go study, a lot of the people, the first place they go is to Egypt, to the Sudan, right? When they going to study, not just going for like a Hajj or Umrah, because they going to go to Saudi for that. Yemen was one, but used to be before all the turmoil. But Egypt, that's usually the first. Egypt and the Sudan is generally the Muslims first in America and over there in the UK and them areas. So that just shows you how it started off the land of Shirk, land of Kufr. You know what I'm saying? Shaitan's playground. And now Misr is a land of Tawheed. I'm not saying it's a perfect Muslim society, but it's the land of Tawheed. And the Muslims didn't have to go to war to get it. So you're talking about an area, we'll just say you take Egypt and Sudan, so I'm just going to refer to it as Misr, like they do. All one area. And a lot of people hear about the Nubians who are around in Sudan, because us African Americans love to be like we the original Nubians and this and that, but we don't realize that the Nubians is part of Misr. You see what I'm saying? It's part of Egypt. They just split. Sudan and Egypt the same place, but darker people is in Sudan. So anyway, the Nubians there, but they be Muslim, right? So how did this happen? There wasn't no war. The Muslims didn't have to go there and go to war to take over Misr, for Misr to become the land of Tawheed. So how did this happen for them? They practiced Islam the way that they were supposed to. And Allah Azza wa Jal gifted the Muslims Misr. Now why am I speaking on that? Because right now, we live in a society that's the land of Shirk, the land of disbelief, the land of Kufr. All type of crazy misguidance and ungodly type of behavior is actually part of the law. And we seeing it right before our face. You know what I'm saying? Especially like sometimes when you look at in certain cities, like in Illinois, especially some of these small towns, and see how it's more drugs where you just had to turn around and look and say, where are the drug users? Like how all these individuals got all this much dope in this small town? Where are the drug users? Because it's just been flooded and there's a bunch of federal agents and operatives out here just with a bunch of dope that they're recycling. You come in with all this dope, you sell all the dope to these people, then we come bust them, get the dope back, give it back to you, then you sell it to another group, then we bust them. Like all this dope not getting sold. How's it drug users? I mean, it ain't enough people doing dope for all the dope that's flowing. But this is just to show the lands and the corruptions and how things going on. If the Muslims practice Islam correctly, we just talking about the whole country. Look at what Misr used to be, and now it's the land of Tawheed. The same thing could happen in the United States, but we have so many different groups, and you have to understand, the Muslims have been infiltrated, and I know this firsthand, not only because they put it out there, but you have to understand, we had a guy here who tried to do a terrorist act, and it was Muslims who infiltrated him. That was FBI operatives. And it was funny because when his paperwork came out, I didn't hang with him per se. You know what I'm saying? He wasn't never right to me. His Islam was never right to me. But I was around him due to the people that I would be around. Because, like I say, the community, they thought he was knowledgeable. And they used to get mad at me because, man, we used to have beef. Like, wallahi, if somebody called me and he was over their house, I would go over their house and put dude out. Because he wasn't right to me. You understand? So I would be around him. So because I was around him, some of the conversations that was had with the operative. So I know who the operatives was because the conversations was in the paperwork and I was there. So I knew who the FBI people was. I still know who they are. You understand? So basically they tricked him into thinking that the FBI sent somebody to trick him, other Muslims, to trick him into help, thinking he was meeting the Taliban. So he fell for it. You know, because, I mean, he was an idiot. You know what I'm saying? I never bought into his deen. I thought he was a drug addict. You know what I'm saying? Dude be woke 6 days, not brushing his teeth, not bathing, no nothing. How you woke for 6 days, bruh? Like all the time. It wasn't just like a special occurrence. You know, super dirty, teeth was kind of turning black and stuff, man. Mine wasn't right. He would be tweaking. I used to see him tweaking. So my point is, it was certain Muslims, man, who got to him to get him to where they needed him to be to try to commit a terrorist act. So in my head, it was always like, they could have let him blow those buildings up instead of giving him fake bombs. Okay? So like I said, some of the conversations that was had, that was in the paperwork, I was sitting right there listening to them. The only thing that wasn't in the paperwork and how I ended up showing up, because I was kicking dude out of people's house. Okay? You know what I'm saying? Because his Islam was garbage and he was really corrupting these guys. So my point is, sometimes when I see the process of people destroying things that involve the deen, and every time when I look at it, I sit back and be like, some of y'all was operatives. Now, wallahi, this is a true story. So this is about sins, though. This is about corruption, because if people was on a deen the way they were supposed to be. So basically, you know, some of them was basically people who tried to sell a little dope, got caught, you know, and agreed to set up Muslims so that they don't have to go back to jail. You know what I'm saying? Even if it was getting Muslims to sell dope with them. I mean, they put it all in the paperwork. Some of it was in the newspaper. But like I said, I knew who some of them was because I was there for some of the conversations that was in the paperwork where they was referring to CI number 1 and CI number 2. which is confidential informant. But they even put in there why they became confidential informants and how occasionally when certain things is going on, they use them. That wasn't their first time using these people. So altogether it was like, and it was even some foreigners that was involved. Altogether it was like 5 confidential informants that they used. So anyway, so every time something is getting broken down and it's doing this and that, and then I be looking at certain Muslims, man, that's just running around here committing crime like they got to get out of jail free card. It's like, but okay, so this is due to the sins. As long as these type of things is going on, why would the lands get turned over to the Muslims? The way like Misr was. Misr is known for shirk. People right now still get up and go all the way to Egypt and to the Sudan just to see the pyramids. Huge symbols of shirk. Idolatry. A bunch of idol worships. So I've been taking my guy, one of the guys, man, trying to acclimate him into this masjid over here. And I'm still waiting for him to see it on his own. You know what I'm saying? Because he always, when you put him on, you know, he love to say he pay attention to everything. So I'm waiting for him to see it on his own. But I'm going to say it right now. That building, as you walk through, see how big the building is, how beautiful it's starting to become. In the very beginning, the Wharf Dean community got that building. It was people who was involved in certain things in the streets and gave them money to get that building. Some of the Muslims, right? I know some Muslims that gave them 10, 15,000. But my point is, they got that building. And I want you to see it. Now when you go there, it ain't not one Wharf Dean individual there. It ain't even like, and as far as the African Americans, you basically got to go in there and try to get yourself into some type of position to get some rights of the masjid other than praying and listening to Jummah. Right? We ended up getting the building back. And now we done lost it again. And as we sitting up there, you got some Arabs in there, you got some Indian, Pakistanis in there, and they can't even give a khutbah. They got to get up there and read from a book and read from their phone. I respect it though, because they not going to just sit up there and get up there and start yapping trying to sound good. So they following a format and they reading from books and off their phones, khutbahs that was written by scholars. But they do it all, nobody in there can understand it. Well, very few people. But I respect it. But my point is, this is due to all the sinful behavior. You understand? So, all the fitnah stuff that was created. And as we go in there, we might go this Friday. Because I want them to see it. I want them to see it. And then go to all this other stuff, because people have all these grand plans. But you got to do like the Quran say. Look at the plan that people chose before you. Look at the path. And look where it led them. Look what their outcome was. See, I look at it on both sides. I look at it and say, man, Misr was the land of Shirk. All over the world, Misr is a symbolism of a land of Shirk. That's where Pharaoh was. One of the most hated figures in Quran al-Karim. And when you read certain hadiths and learn things about Pharaoh, He ruled these lands, him and other leadership that was just like him. But now his land is the land of Tawheed, man. Misr, Egypt and Sudan, it's the land of Tawheed. So I look at what had to go on for that to happen. And then I realize the same type of things could happen anywhere. You know what I'm saying? But people just not practicing their Islam correctly. And you have certain areas where Muslims have corrupted versions of the deen, and they feel like they can just take over certain areas by force, and like your ISIS and your different things. But who's not to say that the government not playing in with that? Because like I said, I seen them take a person because of weird stuff that he was, for whatever reasons, he was putting weird stuff on MySpace and all that in different groups talking dumb. And then they had some Muslims serve him up on a platter. Okay? And yeah, some of them Muslims still around here, and for whatever reason, anything that they have their hands in fails when it comes to Islam. It's the same people that they work for telling them to make sure this stuff don't work. So, but Allah has this character, and this is why individuals need to learn how to practice their deen and learn their deen, man, and quit being sinful. Because I'm telling you, I done seen Muslims come through, want to live a good life, get out of prison, or come to this city and they want to change their life, and they come right in that masjid for Jumu'ah, and by the next Jumu'ah, another Muslim done put dope in their hand. And then next thing you know, they going to prison, but that same Muslim who put dope in their hand is on the streets. You know what I'm saying? Put dope and a gun in their hand right after Jumu'ah. Then next thing you know, they locked back up, but the same Muslim who gave them dope and guns is still on the streets. People who done sat down and got in a little trouble and done agreed to give information about the masjid and take people names down and turn in who knew here and who knew there. Like when we had the big meeting and they split, it was a particular individual who stood up and said, he was a foreigner. Hey, I had an FBI here. Like that. You know what I'm saying? So quit falling into sins, man. Quit chasing the wrong thing. And that's why, like, certain people who I know kind of serious about the deen, I wouldn't never have you around none of these people. You know what I'm saying? Because for some strange reason, something gonna happen where you're gonna end up corrupted. Or when I bring people in town, it's not like that with only out of towners. It's certain Muslims that I talk to on the phone that I be around. I would never introduce them to some of these people that's around here, because I know certain things. You know what I'm saying? So, as I'm speaking on that masjid, man, and you could just see how due to sins and poor leadership and fitnah, how it has been it's been totally taken away by people who from the Muslim lands and then came over here and can't even give a khutbah. They had to read from a book, from a building that they done took from the Warabdeen community. And see, that's what I've been waiting for him to see. Then we could go to the other masjid. Who sold that building so that they could get this new building, but when you go over there and you see your own people, they in shambles. But then when you really look at the people who in leadership, they can't even teach a deen. They know they give a khutbah, but they do an innovative version. They call them the adhan, not the ikama. They call the adhan, and then they call the adhan again in the middle of the khutbah. Okay, so and they from overseas. They don't even know how to give a khutbah. But this is the leadership, and then we just sit down and puppy dog behind it. Why some of them ain't nothing but operatives for them people. You know what I'm saying? And then you sit around and see some people get another building, but the only thing they do is have a whole bunch of bad ideas to make it fail, but they can look like pillars in the community. You know what I'm saying? They really can't even give no khutbah. They just gotta go to the internet and just look up anything and then just repeat it to the people. You know what I'm saying? This is ineffective leadership. So, and then it's like I say, it's due to all the sins, it's due to all the fitnah. You know what I'm saying? And like I say, people can't fool me. I was around for the conversations with CI number 1 and CI's number 2s, CI's number 4s. I was around. Because at this point I was blended in the community, right? And people, if individuals wasn't trying to be sinful and corrupt and do this and that, they wouldn't be caught up in that. Cause you Muslims, you done caught a case for beating a girl and you don't want to go to jail, so you gonna give information. You know, you're a Muslim out here, you done got caught selling dope. You already selling dope for them people as a Muslim. And then you get caught stealing some money. So now you got to set up Muslims. They put this in the paperwork. But they just said CI number 1, CI number 2, CI number 3. But they giving the information why they working for them. Wallahi. So if Muslims wasn't out here being sinful and acting a fool or want some money for a car and this and that, we wouldn't be out here losing. And I'm not talking about, I'm not just speaking on my race. All I'm saying is, I'm taking him up there and I'm going to read this from this book of Fitnah, Foolish Leadership. They done took this building from some African Americans who, grind, did everything to get it. But, unfortunately, man, they was foolish leaders. They had to get up and do for self. Skills. We got to do for our own, but they couldn't teach the religion. And then lost it to some people who still can't teach it. Then when we get it back, and we in there, and we got some actual people who in there can teach it, but you got operatives in there. CI number 1, CI number 2. They still there. And they just tearing up everything. You understand? So then we lose it again. Now I'm taking another brother over there because he had these grand ideas. And I'm saying, look at this, bro. Right now it's in the hands of some foreigners who can't even give a khutbah. But this is who we turn into to learn our deen from. And I'm not knocking them. I'm not saying this to bash anybody, but due to sins, due to fitness and poor leadership, it's like being in a system that's designed for you to fail. You understand? It's like being in a system that's designed for you to fail. Real talk. So look at this. This is called the book, The Effects of Fitnah, right? The third point in it is called, the third effect of Fitnah is the foolish taking leadership. So like I said, practice Islam properly as a whole. A land of Egypt can become the land of Tawheed. Same thing can happen for your city. Same thing can happen for your area. But see, we not turning anything into the areas of Tawheed. We losing everything. We are the Fitnah. Now I'm saying that, my people, we the Fitnah. We the criminals. We the informants. We the two-headed snakes. We the sinful ones. We the ones running around like we got get out of jail free cards. You know what I'm saying? We the ones when Muslims come in down on their luck fresh out of prison and put a pack and a gun in their hand. And then they back in prison. We the ones doing that, man. Because and then there's certain people who, we under the leadership of foolish people. And I'm gonna say this before I read this because I was explaining this to my cousin, right? And we was talking. And they're female, but they Muslim. And then you have Muslim men, and it's just certain things that when it comes to men, the way she look at it. So I'm breaking down to her. See, as young men, we're taught to follow up behind bad leadership. How does that happen? Because we join gangs. And when you join a gang, at least back in the day, you had ranks. You had leaderships. You had a leader, then a leader under him, the leader under him, branch leaders. But when somebody is your leader, so let's say you join a gang and there's a leader, where he leading you to? Jail or the graveyard. Because that's where they going. You understand? But we taught to accept that particular leader. Whether he could fight, whether he got money, whatever reasons, we accept him as a leader. And being a part of that gang, we do what we told to do, some of us. Wallahi, I wasn't that though. You know what I'm saying? Wallahi, y'all ain't finna make me do nothing. You know what I'm saying? If I ain't with it, I ain't with it. And we just whatever got to occur, it just got to occur. Wallahi. You know what I'm saying? And then but the point is, we accept these leaders. And then they lead us to jail and death. So when it comes to people who leading you in the Islamic community, right? They giving a cook bars, whether they African American, whether they foreign. See, the position of the person who's leading the community, you're supposed to be getting led to Jannah. You're supposed to be getting led away from filth. You're supposed to be getting led in a certain direction. If you dealing with a person, whether they African American, whether they foreigner, where is their life headed? What is they on? If they not leading a life that Islam tell them to lead, how they gonna lead you to do it? You understand? It's like expecting somebody who don't know how to fix a car to teach you how to fix a car. Just because they able to go get on the internet or they got a book, like they reading from a book or they reading from the phone, and they able to use certain terminology about you need to change oil, but they can't teach you how to change the oil. You see what I'm saying? So we taught through gang culture to accept ineffective leadership. And then in prison, people who had to go through them rush pastures in prison, well, you definitely was going to fall in the line of some leadership. You know what I'm saying? Or you was going to get your head swole up. Sitting around, had to stand outside, stand around with weapons just so that somebody can use the bathroom. And if you didn't do it, you see what I'm saying? And for whatever reason, you might not even know this person. Hey, this our leader. So when we come out, we accepting that in Islam. And some of our leaders is foolish, and some people don't know how to do what the deen tell them and say, okay, let me look at your lifestyle. Let me see where you headed. Let me see what you want. And then I can look at you and clearly say, in accordance with Islam, not from a judgmental point, but in accordance with what Islam say, you're not even living the type of lifestyle that leads to Jannah. Whether you African American, whether you foreign, or just American, you don't even live a lifestyle that leads to Jannah. You don't even know how to get there, because 90% of what you're doing leads in the other direction. Where is a leader like that going to lead you? And see, people don't know how to assess these things because they used to falling up under behind and being loyal, being a true soldier to this type of a system, to where now they doing it in Islam. But then you got to throw in CI's number 1, CI's number 2, people running around like they got a get out of jail free card. You got to throw all that in. And then you don't even know how to deal yourself. Certain people. And this is why knowledge is so important. We can sit up, like right now, we can get up and sit up in 100 Muslims, man. We can sit up in a group of 100 Muslims. And not one person in the whole group even know how to effectively seek knowledge. How you gonna learn how to seek it? You see what I'm saying? It's like you caught up in a system that's designed for you to fail. You understand? You got foreigners at one masjid, and because they are foreigners, their Islam is perfect, and they don't even know how to give a khutbah. How y'all gonna give a khutbah? Like I say, I started coming around 2005, just driving here. I did that till 2006. We almost in 2025. And y'all get a khutbah the wrong way every Friday. Over 20 years. And then know it's wrong when they repeatedly told. And then you wonder why nobody learning nothing. Nobody elevating Islamically. But they think because they got some gadgets and different things from being CI number 3. 1 second. So, people got little gadgets and trinkets and different things, glitz and glams for being CI number 3. Like, it's a system that's designed for you to fail. Like, certain people need to use their head, man. But once you start to really get in this deen and pay attention to it and start living it, then your focus will change. Like right now, you got people on the street, right? Been on the street, like you got ex-drug dealers, right? That was pretty decent at selling dope. They ain't sell dope in 20 years. You think they could just jump in the dope game and all of a sudden after 20 years know how the game go? Man, I'm just finna jump in the game and then in 1 week I'm gonna be balling. But then you got other individuals who still be on the street selling dope for 20 years and they still not really balling, right? Then next thing you know, some Muslim who been in prison for 20 years, 25 years, 15 years, they hit the street and all of a sudden they the plug in 1 weekend. You know what I'm saying? Been in federal custodies and state custody 20 years, been locked up 15, 16, 20 years. Before that, you was locked up 10 years, 19 years. You know what I'm saying? in the last 27 years, you've been locked up 25 of them. And now you Muslim and you hit the street. You hit the street on Thursday, and Sunday you the plug. You've been gone for 17 years, and you get out on Thursday, and then Sunday you're a professional at selling dope. You done surpassed all these people who've been out here trying to sell the dope in a weekend. still on parole, still on state parole, still on federal parole. Who like anybody who from the streets, because y'all cats need to learn some logic, man. Who on earth gonna front somebody that's on federal parole or state parole, just coming out of the states after 15 years, just coming out of the feds 15 years, still on federal parole? Who gonna front them a whole bunch of work? The feds? The state? Them people? Would you do it if you was a hustler? And see, I'm saying this because it was a particular individual who come from up out of the feds, 17 years in the feds, and hit the masjid, and he the plug for everybody. Using Jumar as a meeting, we need to buy the streets back. We need to start buying all these abandoned houses. He got all these cars, all this other stuff, set up cars, houses, big TVs, and all type of stuff. You've been gone for 17 years. You still in that federal halfway house. Who foolish enough to give you 20 keys and you still in the federal halfway house? Obviously somebody who got 20 keys to lose and not worried about you telling on them that they gave you 20 keys. He the plug in the masjid. Y'all can't see through that. Y'all can't see through that. It's some people, man, go to jail for 5 years or 6 years and come home and don't even know how to jump in the dope game. They don't even know what dope is being sold. Y'all can't see through that. Salam alaikum, man. Yeah, man, in prison, man. Dude was a model Muslim. He was the imam. Yeah, but on the streets, he won't step foot in the masjid. And when he do step foot in the masjid, it's to connect with the other dope dealing Muslims. They ain't there for salat. They using Jumar as a what they call it, man, as the pitch they business plan. Y'all can't see through that. Y'all can't see through that. You know what I'm saying? Cat become Muslim, man, and done being in and out of the penitentiary. You been Muslim 9 years and being in and out of the penitentiary the whole 9 years. Fooling around and still running around like they got to get out of jail free card. Taking them down, just watching everybody around them crumble. I even heard, man, one brother say, man, that wallahi, a Muslim, like, man, when it comes to the streets, you gotta treat it like a career. Just like a person in the NBA, every once in a while when they get hurt, they get injured, they have to sit on a bench. So you treat the streets like a career. Every once in a while, you got to go to the jail and sit down for a little bit, like an injury. And wallahi told me, man, snitching part of the game. And I sat back and said, I ain't even, you know what I'm saying? I don't need the streets. We definitely ain't going to be nowhere making salat together. You feel me? Ain't no salat for us. But like I said, man, it still boils down to the sins. The fitnah. We the fitnah. You know what I'm saying? We the sinful ones. And then we had the ineffective leadership. People who couldn't run the masjid Islamically lost it to some people with money that can't run the masjid effectively. And then we sit around as knuckleheads and convince other people, you need to study, all you got to do is ask them. Well, you sound like CI number 1. But look, and wallahi, these true stories, man. Let me read this, man. the effectiveness of the one of the third effects of fitna is the foolish taking leaderships. So among the effects of fitna also is that results from it is the foolish taking leadership, and those who have knowledge and those who have no knowledge and those who don't have fiqh of Allah's religion occupies the leading positions with only zeal. And see, that's why I like to use that word, because certain people, they have the zeal, right? But they don't have nothing else. But then sometimes you have to take a deep look and see what that zeal is attached to. You know what I'm saying? Because individuals be operatives. I'm going to tell you something. When you see a Muslim that's been Muslim for a long time but don't know how to practice Islam, it might be a trick to it. So they had the zeal, but they don't have any fiqh of Allah's religions, and they don't have any real knowledge, and they don't even know how to have balanced judgment. They don't even have proper discernment and hikmah, right? And without any deliberateness, right? So they occupy the leading positions, and they give religious rulings haphazardly. You ask, even if it ain't even a technical ruling, you can ask them a question and they answer it based off themselves. Certain person in the community that I look up to, can I have a girlfriend? Yeah, you can have girlfriends as long as you top bleaking them. It been certain individuals, man, who was running around doing a girlfriend-boyfriend thing, and I hit them up like, hey, man, y'all got to get married, man. You don't understand what you falling into, man. Y'all seeing each other in the house naked. You know, y'all violating, lowering the gaze. You don't know what Allah might put up on you for that. You not lowering your gaze. Y'all seeing each other private parts. You know what I'm saying? Y'all touching. You ain't even supposed to be touching a female that you're not married to or not a family member. You know, like as far as even a handshake or a hug. Y'all hugging, y'all kissing, intimacies. Y'all got to get married. They get mad at me. Man, we cool on a boyfriend-girlfriend thing. I'm talking about numerous individuals. But they want to be in leadership. Some of them is. And this is real advice that they get. Hey, as long as you top bleaking her or giving her dawah, foolish leadership, right? So they tell you things haphazardly that don't even involve a thing. And they acknowledge the statements. They spread false rumors and meddle in the affairs of formal legal opinions and so forth. And they are not known, they ain't even known for knowledge. They ain't even known for forbearance. They not known for deliberations. However, they have some zeal that drives them to the fitnah. See, that zeal, I had you in the wrong place, around the wrong people, at the wrong time, when you don't have the knowledge, the forbearance, the fiqh, the discernment, the proper judgment to go with that zeal. You understand? So because of this reason, Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah, may Allah have mercy upon him, in his book Minhaj said, when fitna occurs, right, those with intellect are unable to drive away the foolish. See, one person full of fitna leads to two. Two leads to three. Three leads to four. And then certain people be like, hey man, but you got all that, this, that, and the third. You could come fix this. We need you. I've been around for 20 years, B. I watched all this occur and been talking like I'm talking the whole time. Perhaps people dumb, deaf, and blind, baby. Perhaps individuals is sealed up from Allah Azza wa Jal. Perhaps individuals is Muslim CI number 1 and CI number 2. You understand? And this is for anybody who's seeing certain things that just don't make sense in their city, and because they new to the deen and they never really would, the streets is different, and they probably don't really recognize certain things in the streets. This is everywhere. Just like they said when George Bush and 9/11 and all this and that, they made it extremely clear. It's a CI in every masjid, baby. And you best believe if you jump up and go try to get your own building, it's going to be a CI in there too. That's why you need to learn how to pay attention to what people doing. Why y'all trying to corrupt everything? They'll put you in position to have jobs and all type of stuff. You know what I'm saying? Because I knew, from the streets, certain people, man, who say, hey, man, the feds, they'll move you out of town, work for you, man. They'll get you a job somewhere, and you use that job to play the position to meet the players. And they'll have you looking legit as everything. But they'll always have something over your head. If you stop working for them, they'll lock you back up. You think about that. You've been gone 20 years. You've been in the Fed 20 years. You've been in the state 20 years. You get out on Thursday, and now Sunday you the plug. You shouldn't even know how to sell dope. You shouldn't even know what dope is being sold after 20 years. It's people who've been in the world who can't jump in the dope game. Don't even know how, don't even know where to go cop some drugs from. Don't even know the new prices. Now, how much do dope even cost? But you get out on Thursday, and by Sunday you the plug. It's people who've been on the streets 20 years and ain't even accomplished that. But you Muslim. You Muslim. You'll jump up, drive all the way to New York City, Florida. Drive all over the globe to pick up some dope. But you won't even drive 5 minutes to the masjid to make salat. You won't even drive 5 minutes to the masjid for Jummah. But you could drive hours to pick up some dope. While you represent Islam, calling other Muslims to sell dope with you. Y'all don't see that. Y'all don't see that. And this is what's stopping y'all areas from becoming areas of Tawheed. And unfortunately, the only ones who gonna be foolish enough to sit down and be a duck for them people like that, the majority of the times is going to be one of us. A masjid that was established, but the people couldn't do nothing with it Islamically. Now it's been replaced by some more people who can't do nothing with it Islamically. Can't even give a khutbah, B. You know what I'm saying? So like it say, like it say, when fitna occurs, those with the intellect, they're gonna be unable to drive away the foolish. That's why you gotta stomp the fitna out. And that's why people who involved with the fitna, who involved with the corruption, they don't want you saying nothing. They don't want the people to click up with you. You know what I'm saying? They don't want the people to click up with you. You dig? So this is the circumstances of fitna, just as what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, and fear the fitna which affects not in particular only those of who do wrong. So what it's saying is, The fitna, it ain't even gonna just harm the wrongdoers. It's gonna harm the good people too. You have good Muslims who can't even go to the masjid and get some good Islamic teachings because of the wrongdoers. And then the wrongdoers don't want the callers, the good, to come around and start stomping that out. Because wrongdoing is what they do for a living. You understand? Because wrongdoing is what they do for a living. And see, you have people who don't understand for the deen, and they think, man, you know, such and such and them be praying all the time, man. They love God, man. They love Allah. And I can say, you know, that's a strong possibility. But they might still be a horrible person. They might still be corrupting the deen of Islam. They might be praying like that because their conscience is dirty. And they want Allah to forgive them for the wrongdoing that they doing. It might not necessarily be that they love Allah. They love themselves so much that they want Allah to stay off their back. They trying to avoid some punishment. You know what I'm saying? They might pray all the time, but they might be CI number 1. They might be in some paper somewhere else as CI number 10. So like I say, so when that fitna occurs, to where it's not only going to affect the wrongdoers, it's going to affect the people that's trying to do good also. When that fitness occurs, no one will be safe from being tarnished, by being tarnished by it. So you only going to be able to save who Allah protects. So we ask Allah Azza wa Jal, the powerful and the sublime, to protect us from that fitna. See, if you're not going to go get educated, then you're going to get educated by the uneducated, B. You understand? And some people need individuals around them to be stupid and blind so that they can thrive. Now, you soak that in. The Muslims with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam by their side lost the war for being disobedient to Allah Azza wa Jal. Why would we get the victory? It's too much disobedience going around. It's too much shirk. Cats is mushrik. Why would we get the victory? But then you look at lands like Misr, where Pharaoh and some of the worst, most wretchedest individuals had it as a whole entire land of shirk, idol worship, all type of misdeeds, evil deeds, where the angels wanted to make sure Pharaoh went to hell. When he tried to confess that there is no God but Allah, at the end the angels started shoving rocks and dirt from the water in his mouth so that he couldn't get it out. The angels hated him. But now these lands, they lands of Tawheed. Why is that? Because the Muslims got together and practiced Islam the way it's supposed to be practiced. And now it's a hub for Muslims to go learn Arabic, Quran, Deen, slip down through Sudan, get even better, come up through Mauritania, and all type of different areas over there. That's why they got the victory. And it's peaceful lands. You understand? Gotta know this deen, baby, man. So like some of y'all who in certain areas, man, and y'all having same difficulties, just look at the particular individuals and say, every time something is trying to be done, it fall apart because it's the same people. Just take a look where you at in your city and see what's cracking. You might be dealing with CI number 1, CI number 2, or people just so gone, man, on different type of drugs and wanting to be a criminal that they bringing a fitna to the masjid. And just like with those individuals, that first disobedience came about that made them lose that war, they was chasing the material. They left their post because they wanted to go get the glitz and the glams, the material. Some of us putting our deen down because we want to go chase material. We want to look like certain type of people in the streets. We getting the money. We out here shining. Allah blessing us. When you don't even know what Allah's blessings is. Allah bless people with deen. You understand? That's what a blessing from Allah is. But as y'all can hear, man, my alarm keeps going off, man. It's time for me to go ahead and get ready for work, man. Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. But ponder on that. Pay attention to that wherever you are. And then you're going to have to understand, man, like that Quran ayah say, save yourself first. And then start to save your family. But it all starts with saving yourself first, man. Get you some deen under your belt. And like I say, if it wasn't for these individual Muslims trying to be slick and chasing those glistening glams, they never would have been into those situations, wanting to be sinful. They don't see that as punishments from Allah. You know what I'm saying? Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.